Hi, I am Basavaraj Thonagatti from basunivesh.com. Recently, one of my clients asked that, is it possible to earn around 10 to 12% returns by parking our idle cash in some instruments? When I said no, he pointed to, or else he shared one video where they mentioned that you can easily earn around 10 to 12% by parking your idle cash. Let us try to discuss the risk involved and why you must not blindly follow all these advices which are available on social medias. In this particular video, the person actually tried to create an idea that this can be easily possible. And for that reason, first he tried to burst certain myths, which I want to share it here. The first myth what he busted is bonds are not for long term, they are for the short term also. Yes, I also agree. But at the same time, we must not consider all categories of a bonds when our requirement is short term. The second one is bond platforms are unsafe. Many people think that bond platforms are unsafe. So for that reason, how we can trust? No, you no need to bother about that. Nowadays, even SEBI regulated bond platforms are available and they act like a typical broker. Okay. So for that reason, you no need to bother about the safety of such a platforms. And the third important myth what he busted is you can exit in middle also rather than waiting for the long term. Yes, I too agree this. But beyond this, there are certain risks which he is unable to disclose or share it for such a short-term requirement, which I want to discuss in this video. See, the person who is recommending around 10 to 12% returns for such a parking of your short-term requirement, he is obviously recommending the corporate bonds. He is not recommending any treasury bills or else short-term bonds of a government of India, state government. So obviously, when you are investing in corporate bonds, the credit risk will be very, very high. And for that reason only, they are offering high returns, right? So for that reason, the first thing what you have to ask yourself is why you are parking the money for such a short term. If it is for a short term requirement of 2 to 3 months, then simply use the bank FDs or else overnight funds or liquid funds. Trying to chase 1 or 2% higher returns for such a corporate bonds may backfire you at any point of time. The second important aspect is regarding the YTM. When in that video, when I saw that one, what I found is that the YTM is showing as 10 to 12% returns. Fine. YTM means yield to maturity. If you are buying the bond today, even from the secondary market also, and if you are ready to hold till maturity, then only this yield to maturity will be applicable. However, if you are trying to sell the bond before the maturity, then the returns will be differ for you, because at that point of a time, it again depends on demand and supply. So for that reason, when you are buying a bond, don't consider the YTM as return on investment. If you are ready to hold till maturity, then only YTM matters. If you are ready to sell or else if you are trying to sell before maturity, then obviously your returns may be different than YTM. This is the third important aspect which I want to tell you. And regarding the liquidity, the guy told that you can sell at any point of time even in the mid also. However, in terms of a bond market, especially in terms of Indian bond market context, liquidity is always a concern. When you try to sell the bonds, you may not find a right price or else you may not find a right buyers also. And especially when it comes to the corporate bonds. So be cautious. Don't think that it is like a typical bank FD or else liquid mutual fund or else overnight fund. Liquidity is always a concern when you try to sell in between. So for that reason, don't try to explore such a corporate bonds for your short-term requirement. You need the money in short term mainly for short term goals to fund it. So for that reason, even if you earn around 1 to 2% higher return from such a bonds, it is not creating a huge wealth for you. Instead of that one, by investing in a corporate bonds, just by looking at the returns for your short term requirement, you are actually risking your principal. We don't know when the default risk or credit risk will happen. I'm not saying that by investing in corporate bonds, you always have to face such a situation, but the probability is very high. So for that reason, be cautious before investing anywhere and before chasing the returns by looking at the social medias and all these fancy stuffs. I think I cleared the doubts. Thank you for watching this video.